The jury found the defendant, Cory Batey, guilty of aggravated rape on count 1. We find Mr. Vandenburg guilty of aggravated rape.
Guilty on all charges. That's the word from the jury tonight. Good evening, everyone. After 3 weeks of testimony, Vandenburg and Cory Batey were led away from the courtroom in handcuffs.
The jury made their final decision saying both men are guilty of raping a Vanderbilt co-ed. Now, we do have team coverage tonight, including Jessica Ralston, who is outside the courthouse. Jessica.
Well, the jury got the case just around 1:30 this afternoon. They returned with a very sudden and shocking definitive verdict within 3 hours, guilty on every single charge. At this hour, Vandenburg and Cory Batey are being processed into the Davidson County Jail. That's where they will remain until their sentencing date, which is in just about a month here. Chris Conti has been following this since the very start. You know, Chris, today is Cory Batey's 21st birthday, and right before the verdict was read, we saw Vandenburg in the hallway being comforted by his girlfriend. Within just a short amount of time, both of those young men became lifelong sex offenders and convicted felons.
So many different aspects of this story going on here today, Jessica. What happened in the courtroom behind me at 4:49 this evening was powerful, it was emotional, and it was raw. There was apparently no question of guilt in those 12 jurors' minds. They'd seen what they needed to convict both Cory Batey and Vandenburg of raping that female student 2 years ago. 2 years of uncertainty that all led to that one moment when that jury foreperson stood up and said that they were guilty on all the charges that they were facing in this case. Now, as Vandenburg's father cried out in agony in the courtroom behind me here, the victim in this case wiped away a tear from her eye. At least some of the burden that she has been carrying around for the last 2 years of her life suddenly lifted with that one word, guilty. Every single count they were found guilty on, everything from aggravated rape to aggravated sexual battery to unlawful photography.
We find Mr. Vandenburg guilty of aggravated rape. On count 2, we find Mr. Vandenburg guilty of aggravated rape.
That was Vandenburg's father there crying out with such emotion because he knew in that moment that his son would be spending decades behind bars. It is important to remember here that there is, of course, a victim in this case. We are now calling her a victim because both of those young men have been convicted of rape. And Jessica, as we throw it back to you outside the courthouse, we can tell you that they are being booked right now in the jail here in Davidson County.